Hey there. Welcome to another episode of the Super Review Show's Career Retrospectives right here on the Super Review Show Network. I am joined by my two incredible friends, Kyle and Mike. What's going on, guys?
Hey guys, gonna be an interesting one.
That's never
Yes,
good
yes, yes.
words from Kyle.
Hey, that's not true.
Oh boy. Oh boy. No, but as the title of this episode suggests, alludes to whatever today we're going to be talking about Stryper's 2009 album, Murder by Pride. It's hard, and kind of just talking about this a little bit. 2009. But since the most, so for those you don't know, we spun the wheel and landed on Mike's. This is Mike's pick. So, Mike, this is all you, buddy. It landed in your favor. What do you got?
So Stryper is one of those bands that, they've become known for one specific time in their career. A lot of people know them as that Christian, metal band who handed out Bibles at shows, and they had the black and yellow kind of the tights, like the hair metal kind of vibe. And a lot of people don't really know them for much more than that. That kind of is the beginning and end of where they kind of made that imprint on like the scene. Other than that, a lot of people just kind of see him as gimmick, see him as not much more than just getting people's attention to kind of promote Christianity and whatnot. So, amongst the fans, this album is probably one of those albums that uh, has a little less of the elements that people want, or at least want to be, say Stryper is known for the most, and that's why I feel like this is that what kind of album that I think gets underappreciated, has some real good songs on it. Not one of their best albums, but I think since we spun this wheel and we were kind of talking about unappreciated albums, it's definitely one of those ones that I appreciated more as time went by. So yeah, kind of just to start off here, this is definitely a front-loaded album in my opinion. Definitely, it really kind of flexes most of its kind of real bangers, like in the very first like 6, 7 songs, and then kind of tapers off, have some pretty mid to to lower material towards the end, but like overall, just the start of this album definitely promotes the fact that the band has some great songwriters, has some real talent. I mean, coming from all different areas of the band, whether it be the singer or the guitarist, and just overall uh you know the drive of the band. So yeah, so we'll start off with that first song, Eclipse for the Sun. This is just one of them kind of fun. It feels like one of those songs you wrote for a tour, like a tour for this album. Like it's that fun song you're gonna play live, which has like a kind of a punky feel to it, a little more like raw feeling to it. Just fun. The chorus is decent, but overall, it doesn't feel like this is one of those songs that you're really going to remember much after the initial playthrough. Nothing great, nothing bad, but nothing great. Just kind of one of those songs for me. It was a 6 out of 10. Just kind of starts things off with like kind of the more modern, more 2000s era side of Stryper versus like that kind of real like what they're known for. And then we move on to like number two. There is Four Leaf Clover. I love this song. I love that opening riff. It's got that older kind of metal feel to it. It's still got those little modern vibe to it here and there, but it's more like the old school. It's got those cheesy kind of lyrics that Stryper definitely has not strayed away from, but I'm here for it. I do love me some 80s cheese, and they have never been afraid to be kind of like, in that realm of like the lyrics of like that they go for. So production's kind of bare bones on this album as a whole, but it's pretty simple. There's not a lot of bells and whistles. There's not a lot of things going on too much to like really like overcompensate or that underdoes it, but it's bare bones. I like the simplicity, the catchiness of the riff, and the song in general. It's just, man, I really do. I did enjoy this song. This is one of those songs that made it onto one of my like best of Stryper playlists. Which a lot of fans might disagree with. Oh, this is like not really the ones that they want to hear. I disagree. I think Four Leaf Clover it's got that just good, cool feel to it. All the solos on these songs are great, too. The guitarist, uh he's fantastic. So then we come on to number three, Peace of Mind. I mean, this is what it is. It is a great cover of a great song by Boston. I mean, it's just clean. It's just done well. It's got all the feeling that the original song wanted to get, and just done with that great effort. I mean, Michael Sweet, once again, just a great job at vocals. Um, you know, and overall just a great cover. I mean, not much to say about it, but I enjoy it when I listen to it in the car. It's just like it brings justice to the name. Does it feel a little too safe? Does it feel a little too exact? Yeah, you can make your decision where you want. Like, do they take any risks? No, it's just a great example of showcasing a great song like Peace of Mind. So 10 out of 10. It's just a great song. And I come down to Alive. Now
Wait,
this is a
Mike, what'd you
10.
give Four Leaf Clover?
That was a 8.5. Sorry, did I not say that?
Okay. I
Yeah,
might have just
8.5.
missed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's not quite a 9 or a 10. I feel like it definitely is one of those songs that like it just has a simple uh kind of fun, catchiness to it. Yeah, so and then we come into Alive. Yeah, this is a 10 out of 10. Great soaring ballad, great songwriting. Feels like one of those classic songs you hear. It really has nice layers. It's got the piano, it's got the strings, which the strings are a little bit buried in the background, but the acoustic guitar kind of comes through, accompanies the main melody. It's just great. It's just one of those songs that another song that's made it onto one of my greatest hits of Stryper. Um, just that kind of touching, cheesy kind of 80s feel to it, but not too much. So that soaring vocals and that power Michael Sweet brings in. Just another great song, 10 out of 10. And then we get to The Plan. It's underwhelming chorus for me here. It kind of doesn't reward the listener to what the meat of the song is. It feels a little more bare bones. A little more of a fill track in my opinion. Not too bad. It has a little bit of a little groove to it, but overall it's just 6.5 out of 10. Nothing crazy. But then we get to Murder by Pride. I love this song. It's another great song. 8 out of 10 for me here. I like the layers, the guitar over top of the vocals. The chorus is the best part of the song, but overall though the song just kind of this is going to be JT's bane of his existence here. The old you know the track that the title track that he gets caught up in. But we'll see. Who knows? This could be his
We'll
lowest
see,
track. I
Mike.
mean,
We will see.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, but another great song, 8 out of 10. It's just kind of like, it's got some good feeling to it. It's got some good style to it. I like the style, that they're going for here, and it kind of carries over with that song. And then yeah, then we get Mercy Over Blame. It's actually one of my least favorite songs on the track. The chorus is okay, but the song is pretty run of the mill. Guitars driven. It's a guitar driven song, but it just doesn't have too many curves and bends in the road. Nothing unpredictable. Pretty doesn't really take any directions that you just kind of leave you guessing. It really just it has a message. I think the message exceeds the substance, which is, Stryper has a message, folks, and if you don't know it, you're going to be aware of it shortly after listening to this album. If you don't know who
You're
they
gonna be
are
made aware of
definitely.
it by like halfway through.
What did you say? Oh yeah,
You're
exactly.
gonna
Yeah,
be
right.
very aware of it by halfway through here.
Yeah, if you're like you've been living under a rock for the last like I don't know, like 40 something or how many years they've been around, uh, you definitely aren't aware that they have a Christian message, and that's, hey, you know what? On this channel, we believe in all Rights of Belief. I mean, who knows? The next one will do like some other, you know, belief. So who knows what we'll move on to next here. But yeah. So then we go to I Believe. This is like a 6.5. It's the guitar is very Creed. Oh man, I got so much Creed in this. And it's just that 90s kind of feel to it. And it's definitely, this is a 2009 song, so you'd think like, oh, maybe they're gonna do something a little more modern. 2009 modern. No, like that's what I like about it because it stays away from some of the more like electronic and things that you don't really want to hear in a kind of a club run. You know, just kind of like that. Uh, you know, type of album. So it kind of reminds me of My Sacrifice. It's got that, but it's just just more less like catchy as that. Um, then and then like kind of the rest of the album, the songs on here are just kind of like they're decent. Running You, Love Is Why, everything. I kind of gave them all kind of in that realm of like 6.5, I think 7 for My Love. But like I guess my whole point about this album is it's got a real strong start and it's got kind of like this ending that's forgettable in my opinion, not a lot of staying power, not a lot of like real memorability to it, but like amongst the fans, this album is one of those albums that a lot of people like the comments are turned off or something like that. People are very vocal about how they feel about uh how a band is doing and what their best era is. Obviously, their 80s stuff is some of the best and more like has some more fun and memorable songs. And their newest albums, I don't know like if you guys have heard about any of their new albums, but they're not their newest album, but the one previous was, oh man, they have really brought the heaviness back into their sound to a level that like I think like no one expected them to come out of the gate with. And it kind of shows you like why every band has their era of sound that sometimes they aren't done with returning back to a more heavier side. This one kind of stays in that very commercial rock feel but has some real like kind of cool you know vibes to it. So yeah, just overall this was like for me it's like straight down the middle. It's like a 7.5 out of 10. It I did award it an extra little point for having like a consistent kind of sound. It's nothing super special, but it does what it does well, and it stays in that realm. So yeah, like it's definitely an album I return back to, and it's good driving music, when you need something to listen to on the road.
All right, there's Mike's rating. Let's jump over to Kyle. What do you got for Stryper, Murder by Pride?
I'll start this off by saying I am going into this pretty much blind. This is really my first time listening to a Stryper album. The only knowledge of Stryper I have is with Michael Sweet's brief tenure in the band Boston when he did some like co-lead vocals for a couple tours with them. I saw them on that tour. The dude's great. I actually met Michael Sweet on that tour, and he's super nice guy. Like probably one of the friendliest musicians I've met. Took time out of his day before the show to just hang out with a bunch of, oh God, what was I at the time? Like 13, 14-year-old kids, something like that. Uh, maybe even younger. So that was really cool. Always have big respect for the guy. I mean, the dude has a great voice. With that said, I generally not that I don't hold it against any of the music. I've never been much into the Christian rock or Christian metal area of things. Not to say that it doesn't make for good music. Sometimes, and I think this album, and I'll get into it, is faulted for this a bit in that, Mike, you brought it up for one song. A lot of it at times in this album is message over substance and like so like ham-fisted in your face at times that it just really takes me out of it. So I mean, going through the track list, first of all, this is 2009. This does not sound like it. Not just from a songwriting standpoint, but from a production standpoint. This honestly sounds like a local band recording from 2009, like a band you'd see at a bar and like pick up their CD afterwards. And I was wondering why, and I looked up and it looks like Michael Sweet produced this album. I don't know if he did that with their other work, so I can't speak to that or the production quality on those. So that was one thing that just right off the bat kind of didn't click for me. You know me, I like things to either be like a really like raw like punk production or like a really like overproduced kind of thing, for lack of a better word. So I mean, we start with Eclipse. I don't know if it's of the sun or for the sun because Spotify had it listed as of the sun. Either way, me and Mike are actually completely in agreement on this song. This is a 6 out of 10. It's a pretty standard by the books hair metal track. You know, it's kind of a good intro, sets you up for what you're to expect here. Four Leaf Clover. I'm a little bit less stoked on this one than Mike. It's a decent chorus. It doesn't really do much for me overall as a song, but it is nicely structured with a creative melodic guitar solo in there that works pretty well. Sits at about a 6 for me.
Eclipse for the Sun has a kind of a punky feel to it, though, don't you say? Like, you know, that that
It
riff, like,
does.
yeah, like it reminds me of like a hair metal band doing a punk rock song, but doing it in the
Yeah.
way a hair metal band would think it was, but in someone else's opinion, it was more like, no, that's more, you know what I mean?
Which is one of the things that I had. One of the issues I had with this album was a lot of these songs fall into the same mid tempo,
Hmm.
like where there's not much upbeat on here. It's mostly just mid tempo rock songs,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
pick up the tempo on someone could have been a little bit better. Peace of Mind, always loved this cover. This is probably the best Boston cover out there. It's insanely difficult to cover a Boston song. Like insane, down to not only the vocals, but I mean Tom Schultz is a world-class musical genius. I mean the dude's absolutely insane. The tones that he comes up with, the instrumentation, the songwriting, the structure, everything about it. I can't give it a 10 though, just because I do think it plays it a bit safe. Uh, and that's not always a bad thing, but I mean Boston's just in a league of their own. It lacks some of the production elements and like some of the tones that really make the Boston song what it is. Now, again, best Boston cover I've heard. Most bands really struggle with doing Boston songs, Anthrax. Uh, but then we have Alive, and it's funny, Mike. We're at odds with this one. This was a 5 for me. It's not bad. It's not
Wow.
terrible. It's just kind of there. It just to me just sounds like a standard ballad from a hair metal band. Lyrics and instrumentation on this are pretty cliched. It's not a bad song. I just wish it did a little bit more. Like you said, there are strings in it, but they're not really that present. They're kind of buried in the mix. And the mix is something on this album as a whole that I kind of bothered me. Down to the production side again, is I felt like Michael Sweet's vocals were so highly mixed above everything else. And I get why. The dude's a great vocalist, but he also didn't really do much different variations here. A lot of the melodies sounded the same. Uh, then we get the plan, which I actually like this one more than you, Mike.
Well, that's
This
usually
one
how
to
it
me was
works.
an 8. This one takes a more, as what I was talking about, takes a more up-tempo approach, almost like a Bon Jovi track. Uh, the melodies on this one I thought were some of the most infectious of the album. This is actually my favorite drumming on the record, where the drums really work with the song to get like that emotion across and like really just uplift spirits and like push the emotion over the edge. The lead guitar work under the vocal melody on this I thought worked great. The lyrics drag it down a bit for me. Again, sometimes I just feel like there's no subtlety throughout the lyrics on the album, and it's just very much like in your face. Here's our message. Here's the takeaway. And then Murdered by Pride, one of my favorites here. 8 out of 10. Massive chorus, biggest chorus of the album by far. This is absolutely made for live shows to get the crowd into it and chanting along. It does fall flat in the fact that it reuses that chorus a bit much, but when you have a chorus that good, I can't fully fault you for it. I totally get why you would do it. So I mean, 8 out of 10 there. Really like that one. Definitely see why it's a title track here. But here's where I agree with you even more, Mike. This is where the album takes a turn for the worse. It is so front loaded that Mercy Over Blame. This is the first one on this album that I actually disliked. This was a 4 for me. It just sounds like a forced word salad over pretty basic hair metal instrumentation.
I do like that riff though. It's got a groovy kind of like dun 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 dun.
I don't know, it
They
just
just
didn't really stick with
don't
me.
go anywhere from that. It's just
Yeah,
like, hey,
I
here's
think
a
that's
riff.
what it is.
Yeah,
And
here's a
then
riff,
if
and then I don't know what else we're gonna do with the song, but here's the
yes,
same riff, and then it's
there's no transitions in this song. Like the
right,
transitions
right.
don't work well with each other. It's just like here's a different section that's just kind of starting, and then all right, that section's over. We're back to this now. And the vocal melodies on here, there's nothing memorable about them. It's just very flat and one note throughout it. And then we go to one of my least favorite songs here, and I believe, yeah, you said it, Mike. It's a Creed song. And this is coming from someone that likes Creed. I really like Creed, but this really to me sounded like a bad Creed parody that someone in like the early YouTube days would have written as like a joke. The melody's okay. I can't stand the rest of it. I don't like that I believe like choir vocal effect that they got going on. Lyrics on this are really corny, but not in like a fun or good way. Repetition of the phrase I believe is also incredibly annoying. So this isn't a 3 for me. This is a skip all the way. I do actually really like Running You though. That one, the chorus is it's a good song. The chorus is really great. But do you guys remember that South Park episode where they made the Christian rock band Faith Plus One and they put out the CD and Cartman just changed all the lyrics to sexual songs to be about God and Jesus? These lyrics in the chorus, out of context of what he's talking about, sound oddly sexual about God. So that was a little weird for me, but I do like this song. It's actually a fun song, and the chorus is really good. It's just 7. I would actually listen to this one over. And then the rest of the tracks, not great for me. Love is Wise was a 3. This one was rough. I mean, the vocal response of love was just rough. I did not like that. Corny lyrics again, just too no subtlety here. Uh, Melodies, not great. Instrumentation, pretty basic. The guitar, I thought, could be doing so much more in this one. Got tired about halfway through it. Everything, it's a 4. Boring to me. Really felt like phoned in. Honestly, kind of felt like more like a Scorpion song than the traditional like hair metal of the rest of the record. Uh, it's a skip. And then one that I thought had promise and then let me down with after the first like 45 seconds in My Love I'll Always Show.
I agree. Yeah.
That intro had the heaviest instrumentation of the album. And I was like, oh damn, here we go. And then right after that, it just dropped it, didn't pick it up again. Again, actually cringed on this one. I think that the lyrics might be the worst, my least favorite of the album here. Really no subtlety here. I mean, I even took down some notes here. I love you. You're beautiful. I'll always tell you. Like, I don't, just not for me. Not for me. That heavy intro was just squandered so quickly on just a bland, forgettable song. So, I mean, overall, it was enjoyable for me for the first half. Like, even if it was a track that I wasn't like the most stoked on, I thought it was enjoyable. And then halfway through, they really lost me. Vocal melodies, I thought kind of all blended together at a point, and they all just sounded kind of the same, which is a shame because Michael Sweet's a killer vocalist. I mean, he has the chops to do it. I just wish he varied it up a bit more here. So overall, I did deduct half a point for it, just for lyrical content being just so in your face and so much more about the message than sometimes crafting more like infectious grooves and melodies here and there. But that's their thing. I mean, you listen to Stryper, you know what you're getting in terms of content and all that. So came to about a 5 for me. Could be a little bit more, but as an album listening experience, you got a 5.
And if you actually listen to their new albums, they actually know how to change pace a little bit more, where it's like, here's this part, and then it goes into this like real galloping kind of like Iron Maiden-esque type of riff, straight down to this really sing-along chorus, back into this galloping riff, back into this part, where I feel like this album might suffer is doing like one note across the board, and then hit you with a chorus, and then it's back to like, you know, it just doesn't know how to change gears to the level that you'd want it to. But some of the melodies they present and choruses can be well done and infectious, you know. So it's an interesting where they are now, where they used to be, you know. So.
All right, you heard it here first. That's Kyle's rating right there. Now it's my turn. Excuse me, my voice is a little sore. Forgive me. I'm in a very similar vein as Kyle on this one. As far as that experience, as a listening experience goes, I have never. I mean, I knew the band Stryper through Mike, through Kyle, whatever, but I had never really delved into an album of theirs whatsoever. I mean, I knew the name from the '80s, like of hair metal and hard rock and whatnot, but I never dove into an album of theirs at all until Mike put this on the wheel, and we decided to review it. So I'm going in 110% blind on this one, and I definitely am in a similar vein to both of you to a good extent. I mean, more towards Kyle than Mike, but nonetheless, I'm leaning very close to both what you guys are saying. Like, I do agree that with Kyle, the messages are very much in your face, like, oh, look at us, we're a Christian band, whatever. Or, you know, and if cool, if that's your thing, great. If you love, you know, this type of rock, good for you. It's just for me, it was like, okay, I gotta dive into this thing and thinking, how like over after a couple listens, I'm like, all right, yeah, that's kind of in your face. That one kind of in your face, yeah. But I mean, but nonetheless, though, musically, it's very, very good. And I'm gonna go into the track listing right now for myself. So, with track one, Eclipse for the Sun, I'm sitting at a 7 out of 10 for this one. It's because it took me a couple listens to really get into the music and the lyrical, you know, messages and stuff like that. But it took me a little bit. So I'm sitting at a 7 for that one, just because I I do agree with both of you though. This album is very, very front loaded. Once you get down like to track 7, you're like, all right. If this album was cut in half and was like an EP, it'd be better. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah. No, but it's in a 7 out of 10 for that one. 4-leaf clover. I'm actually a little bit lower than that. I'm actually at a 6.5 out of 10 for this one. It's not bad. It's just something I'm not used to. So I had to give it a rating of a 6.5 just because I'm not super familiar with the specifics of like this style of music in general. Like the guitar is there, don't get me wrong, and but the messages are still there, and like it took me a while to get into it. I'm gonna say that a lot, but just bear with me. But their cover, Peace of Mind, I actually really enjoyed this too, and to Kyle's point actually as well. If you, I think there's like 2 or 3 bands in like, you know, rock history or in general that I think that it's really, really hard to cover a and one of their songs. I would say Boston is one of them. I'd say Led Zeppelin is one of them. It's hard to cover one and make it sound better, if not just as good. I give Stryper credit here for making the sound just when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, Peace of Mind. Oh, it's the Boston song. And actually, but towards the end, I was kind of vibing with it. I was definitely bopping my head to it a little bit here and there. Peace of Mind, you know, the whole thing. I was going along with it there. That's a 9 out of 10 for me. And for a cover, that's pretty darn good. Took me by surprise. I had no idea that this was a cover. I didn't realize it was a cover until like after the first listen. I was like, oh, it's Boston. How could I forget? The album does take a little bit of a dip, but not super much. This one's Alive. I'm saying about a 7 out of 10 for this one. Again, just because I'm not super familiar with it, with this style of rock. I'm not very knowledgeable on it, but I do like the track nonetheless. I would say it's a 7 out of 10. And then we're sitting the plan. This is actually 7.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed this one quite a bit. I'm a little bit higher than I thought I would go, truthfully. And then Murder by Pride, the title track. You all know where I'm going with this. This is actually a 7.5 out of 10. This, when I first saw the album, and I said, oh, there's a title track. Let me gravitate towards that one. It's kind of like the Foo Fighters, but here we are title track, where I see it and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm excited to get to that track in the album, whatever. But This one, it's very, you could see why it's a very good title track, don't get me wrong, but it just didn't have like it didn't resonate over several listens over as I listened to it on and on as time went on. But it's a good track nonetheless. I will give it a 7.5 out of 10. And this is kind of where the album, I couldn't agree with both of you anymore. I have my ratings right here too. This is where the album does peter off quite a bit. Um, yeah, like this is a heavy front. Literally, like there's 12 tracks, and once you get to track 7, you're like, all right, I'm done. Mercy Over Blame. I'm saying about a 5 out of 10 for this one, just because it does. You could definitely hear the dip and hear the dip over the course of the record. And once we get to this point where it's like, all right, we're here, you can hear the quality dip a little bit. So I'm saying about a 5 out of 10 for that one. I believe very good, but I'm still for me it was at a 5 personally. Still kind of sitting in that 5 realm. Um, Running You, I actually liked it a little. I feel like I liked it a little bit more than both of you. I give it a 6 out of 10, which is not bad. It's a little bit higher than I expected to give it on several listens over. Um, Love Is Why, again, nothing super, very mid here. Nothing super crazy. This is actually about a 6 out of 10 for me. Nothing super duper special, but just something I enjoyed, but I probably would not go back to it the more I think about it. And then I cannot agree with both of you more. The last 2 tracks here kind of just drag a lot here. Everything is a 4 out of 10, and track number 12 here. My Love, I Will Always Show. Couldn't agree more, Kyle. Great start. Just it didn't deliver as much as I wanted it to for the rest of the song. So I'm gonna say about a 3 out of 10 for that one. But if you take the sum of all of my rating here, and if you were to give, and I were to give Stryper's Murder by Pride a full on album rating, I'm sitting about a 6.75. I could go up to a 7. I'm being generous with it. On a good day, a 7, but I'm sitting at a 6.75 out of 10 for me personally for Stryper's Murder by Pride. It's nothing super special. I mean, I appreciate Mike for trying to find an underrated album in general, and I appreciate him throwing this one on the wheel for us, because that way we're able to have, it's opening up you, the listener or the viewer, to have a different perspective, and maybe you might want to check out this album. Maybe you'll give it a shot. You never know. That's what makes art beautiful, and that's what gives it a shot. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun to return to the discography and find ourselves an album that's like one of their best. We could even go, the opposite direction and do the best albums of every band's, instead of the underrated one. And for bands, for the bands you're not familiar with, and kind of showcase that one, and a lot of people would like a certain album from them. So it might, it'll give you the different perspective of, the styles that they've kind of touched on, where they've kind of gone here or there.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I definitely think that's something we can definitely try down the line. We got a couple more albums to go through that just came out. So we're not spinning the wheel next week, brother, right? We are
not spinning the wheel.
We're
this
not.
week.
No, that's right. All right. Anyways, so yeah, but I cut us off a little early. Forgive me. That's gonna do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for watching, listening. However you enjoyed us. So next week is Bring Me the Horizon's latest release. It would drop. Was it yesterday or last week? When did it drop?
Last Friday.
It dropped last Friday.
Title?
Okay. Post-human next gen.
Oh, it's the post-human thing that they're doing. Okay,
rolls right off the tongue.
Yep.
Human next. It sounds like some lab in California doing human.
That's kind of the idea.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
All right.
So the new Bring Me the Horizon now is the new our next album we are going to be doing here on our career retrospectives. But we want to thank you for watching, listening, however you enjoyed us tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in as always to our show. And I want to thank the two gentlemen as always for doing this podcast with Kyle, Mike. Thanks so much. Q&A podcast is still chugging along, right?
Yep. Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, Q&A.
Awesome. Check out Q&A whenever you get a chance. They do a great job over there. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. So for all of us at the Super Review Show, stay safe, take care, and